trick that is very helpful when identifying intervals. Sometimes you can count half steps, but that's a lot to memorize, so there's an easier way. All right, let's take, for example, an interval that starts on A and goes up to C sharp. What you're going to do is look at your bottom note. In this case, it's A. We're going to pretend now that we are in the key of A. So you have to think about what your key signature is for A and how many sharps or flats you have. So, as you can remember from our previous unit, the key of A has 3 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. All right, keep those in mind. Now, so we've pretended that we're in the bottom note key of A. We're going to look at our top note here, and we have a C sharp. If the top note fits into the key signature for the key of the bottom note, then this is going to be a major or perfect interval. So because we're dealing with a third and not a fourth, fifth, or an octave, this is going to be a major third because there is a C sharp in the key signature for A. So let's try a different example. Let's say we're going from C up to A flat. So we're going to pretend that we are in the key of C. So think about your key signature for C. There are no sharps or flats at all. Now we know that this is the interval of a sixth simply by counting up. But now we have an A flat up here. In the key of C, we have an A natural. So our A natural has been lowered by a half step. That means instead of being a major interval, since it's off by a half step from what's in the key signature, it's going to be a minor interval. Again, to recap that, because A flat is not in the key signature for C, which is your bottom note, it's going to be a minor interval. Now, sometimes one of your notes may be off by more than a half step from the key signature, and that's where your augmented or your diminished intervals come into play. So let's do an example of that. We'll stick with the key of C. Let's do a different one. Okay, let's say we have C up to E double flat. We know the key of C has no sharps or flats, all right? So if we just had one flat here, our E would be off from the C key signature by 1 half step, and that would be a minor third. But now we're off by 2 half steps because we have a double flat, all right? If you're off from your key signature by a whole step or 2 half steps, then that's going to make this diminished, all right? So this is a diminished third. The same principle can be applied to augmented thirds and augmented intervals in general.